All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a really powerful idea, something huge, the direct link between what's going on in your head and what's going on in your life. So let's get into it. You've probably heard something like this before, right? The man who masters his mind masters his reality. Sounds kind of like a nice motivational quote. But what if I told you it's not just some inspirational fluff? What if it's actually a fundamental principle of how our brains are wired?
Yeah, this isn't about wishful thinking or just, slapping a smile on and being positive. Nope, there's a real, actual mechanism at play here.
That's it, exactly. It's a psychological principle. We're talking about how your mind is literally built and how you can actually learn to be the one in the driver's seat of your own experience. So, how does this all work?
Okay, so here's the master premise, how your inner world creates your outer world. It all boils down to this really simple but profound truth. Your inner state, what you're thinking, where you put your focus, how you feel. That stuff directly shapes how you see the world, the decisions you make, and ultimately the results you get in your life.
And this is the key. You have to get this part. You never, ever experience reality directly. Everything, and I mean everything that you see, hear, and feel gets run through this thing called your mental filter. It's like a lens you're always looking through. And that lens is what decides what you even notice, what you completely ignore, and whether you see something as a scary threat or an exciting opportunity.
This is a perfect example. You have two people, but just one situation. So let's say a big project deadline at work suddenly gets moved up. The untrained mind? It immediately flips into danger mode, stress, panic. Oh no, I'm gonna fail. But the trained mind? It sees something totally different. It sees an opportunity, a chance to prove how efficient it is, to come up with a solution under pressure, a chance to really shine. It's the exact same event, but they are living in two completely different realities.
And that's the whole secret right there. The difference is the mental framing, not the environment. Your power doesn't come from changing what's happening out there, but from mastering the frame you use to see it in here. So what's actually going on inside our heads to make this happen?
All right, let's get into the inner mechanics, kind of like popping the hood and looking at your mind's operating system. How do we go from something happening out in the world, a trigger, to an action we take? Well, for most people, most of the time, it's pretty much an automatic process.
This is what we call the default reaction. It's our factory setting, you could say. So, step 1, a trigger. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Step 2, emotion. Instant anger, right? And step 3, action. You slam on the horn, your blood pressure shoots up. It's just a simple, automatic, reactive loop.
But here's where it gets interesting, the mastered response. This is where you insert a couple of absolutely game-changing steps. So you have the trigger, same as before, but then, look at this, you add awareness. This creates a tiny little pause, a gap, before the emotion completely takes over. And in that gap, you get a choice. And that little moment of choice, that's where all your power is. You still feel the anger, it's not about not feeling. But you get to choose whether or not to let it drive your car.
So how do we actually control that choice? Well, it all comes down to attention. Your attention is basically the steering wheel of your mind. Seriously, wherever your attention goes, your behavior is going to follow. Whatever you point that steering wheel at consistently, that's the direction your whole life is going to go. And just look at the difference in attention control here. On one side, you have the untrained mind. It's distracted, it's reactive, it's basically addicted to stimulation. Its attention is getting pulled in a million different directions by every notification, every email, every random thought. But the trained mind, its attention is focused, it's intentional, it's directed. It gets to decide where to invest its precious energy, and that leads to building real skills and spotting opportunities that everyone else just misses.
Okay, so let's really connect the dots here. How does all this internal stuff, the dialogue in your head, the way you frame things, actually lead to real, tangible results in your life? Well, it all works through these incredibly powerful feedback loops. Let's start with the negative loop. It's a vicious cycle. It starts with just one thought. I can't handle this. That thought then drives behavior, right? You avoid the challenge. And the outcome of that avoidance? You miss a chance to grow. You don't learn anything new. And guess what? That just proves your original thought right. See? I couldn't handle it. It becomes a perfect self-fulfilling trap. But now, check out the positive loop. Look what happens when we just tweak that first thought to, I'll figure this out. That simple change leads to a completely different behavior, engagement. You lean in, you tackle the problem. And the outcome? You build a new skill, you learn something, which then reinforces the belief that, hey, you can figure things out. We're talking about the same person, just a different loop leading to a totally different destiny. So here's the bottom line.
Mind mastery really means becoming the editor of your own internal dialogue. You have to learn to catch those thoughts before they become your destiny. You've got to edit that script before it gets locked in as your reality.
You know, they say success often depends on just staying in the game longer. And that's where this all comes in. A mastered mind doesn't panic under pressure. It problem solves. And that simple difference lets you stay in the game when everyone else is quitting. That emotional endurance, it's not some soft skill. It's a massive, massive competitive advantage no matter what you do.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? Let's talk about the practice of mastery, how to start governing yourself. And first things first, we have to get really clear on what mind mastery is, and, just as importantly, what it is not. This is absolutely crucial. Mind mastery is not about suppressing your emotions. It's not about being a robot, being emotionless, or pretending everything is always positive. No way. It's the total opposite. It's about letting yourself feel things fully, but then choosing your response consciously. It's about not letting your impulses hijack the plane and fly you somewhere you don't want to go.
So we really need to redefine the word control here. Control does not equal numbness. It's not about stuffing your feelings down. True control is self-governance. It's the ability to steer yourself intentionally, even when the emotional weather gets rough or distractions are screaming for your attention.
Okay, so where can you start? Like today, here are 5 practical starting points. 1. Just notice your thoughts without feeling like you have to obey them. 2. Slow your reactions down. Just by a few seconds, create that gap. 3. Train your attention like it's a muscle. Do some deep work, read a book without distractions. 4. Actively catch that negative self-talk and rewrite it. And 5. Practice getting a little uncomfortable on purpose. It builds your tolerance.
Now look, none of these things are a magic bullet. But if you practice them consistently, day in and day out, they start to compound. These small, tiny acts of mental discipline create massive shifts in where your life is headed over time.
So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. If your inner state really does shape your outer reality, if your mind is the blueprint, what kind of reality are you building right now, today?